Good morning, Sam from the VXR Collection. So today we're going to be doing the auxiliary belt on the Insignia. Over the last week, 10 days or so, it's basically started squeaking on cold startup. I don't think it's anything more than that, fingers crossed anyway, but by all means I'll check everything out once we've got the belt on, because it does go after about 5 minutes of driving. So I'm hoping I've got a replacement belt. I mean, I've got no records of it ever being done, so chances are, you know, now 12 years old, it's probably well overdue, so we'll see what condition it is when it comes off as well. But yeah, we're going to spin the car around so the car's facing up the drive, and then just makes it a little bit easier for you guys to be able to view it. And then yeah, we'll get into it. Cold start, loading. Right, if you come with me, you can actually hear this belt noise that I'm on about. It's like a high-pitched squeal, no doubt you can hear it. But then, say, give it a few minutes, even on idle to be fair, the noise completely goes, which is rather frustrating, but
Okay, apologies for that, I'm not sure if the camera cut off or not, but basically all I've done is remove the front section of the wheel arch liner, and there's like a splash tray that bolts directly to the subframe along the right hand leg of it. There's 3 8mm bolts that hold it there, and it literally just pinches down. So you can see the auxiliary belt right there. I've changed one before on my old 2.8 Vectron manual estate. I've not done one on these, so I'm going to do, because no doubt they'll be slightly different, I would have thought, just going to do the old school, draw a picture on a diagram of the routing of the belt. I think from memory last time I had to take the upper engine mount off, so I'm probably going to have to brace the engine to take this off, to give me access to the top of the belt, because I believe the tensioner is literally there. So no doubt I'll probably get shouted at because there'll be a quicker and easier way of doing it, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So bear with me, I will just do a quick diagram and then we'll carry on. Okay, so that's the diagram that I've done, so you can clearly see, hopefully it focuses. So I've got power steering pump, water pump, that's the alternator, tensioner, aircon compressor, and then that's the lower pulley. So now I'm going to have to do is basically get as much access to it as possible. So here goes nothing. Okay, so that's the top half of the engine mount off. We just need to get this mounting block off. It's got 3, I think it's 18mm bolts. There's 1, 2 and 3. Had to jack the engine up quite a bit because it's a bit of a funky angle. However, the middle bolt is particularly close to the bottom of this T-junction for a water pipe. So last thing I wanted to do was disturb that, but luckily there is enough flexibility on the bolts in the actual holes themselves, so once you do crack them you can wiggle them over to one side, literally finish off the last threads, and then they do come out. So once you get to that very last 3rd bolt, because it is so tight, what I did was jack the engine up, so released the 3 main mounting bolts on the car, so that's loose. Jack the engine up about 2 or 3 inches, and that's enough to give it enough purchase to get that last bolt out, and then you can just simply manipulate the top half of the engine mount off. So that's one piece off. That's the mounting block off, so it's pretty straightforward. It's just a cast alley piece, 3 bolts, Right, the third one's over here, which is probably the trickiest one because it's right down near the headlight. So, but once you remove that, that then reveals everything we need. So, tensioner's there, alternator's just there, water pump, which looks like it has been replaced, which is good news. This is burning at least. And play. So what we're going to do now is release the tensioner, pull the belt off, and see what we can find. Right, so this is why it's always worth checking. So my diagram here, underneath that block, there's actually, so that tensioner isn't a tensioner, that looks just to be a guide. So we'll cross through that, that's a guide, and then dropping down here, that is the tensioner, and that looks to be, so that comes, that's incorrect, so that goes that way, that's incorrect, so tensioner here, so that goes all the way to the tensioner, and that goes to there as well. Christ, it's going to be a long belt, so yeah, so power steering over to the water pump to the alternator, alternator to the guide to the aircon compressor, aircon compressor to bottom pulley to tensioner back to the power steering. So a bit of a jigsaw, that's fine. At least we spotted it now. Right, okay, so this is interesting. I was wrong. So it actually still has the GM brand on it. So if you, hopefully the camera will sort itself out. There we go. So Bando, made in Japan, but it does, because that's what I could see when I was stripping it, was the Bando made in Japan. So now that we've established that it is the original. Oh, where are we? There we go, GM belt. I'm hopeful that this may cure it then, because the belt itself doesn't actually look in bad nick. There's no cracking, I can see. Nothing. So it looks in good condition still, but you never know. So anyway, that's the belt off. So we'll have a quick feel around. Everything is nice and smooth, which is good news. A slight bit of in and out movement on that guide, and there looks to be a little bit of black stainage behind the main washer. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'll try and zoom in. See what I mean? Sort of, I'll get a pointy stick. So sort of down this section here, around this large washer, you can see some grease just starting to ooze out, so it makes you think that might be on its way out. But there's a slight bit of, when I say slight, I mean, yeah, it's minimal. But it doesn't make any noise. It's just a bloody air pipe knocking. So what I'll do is I'll get the part number for it, and we'll get one ordered anyway. There's no reason why I can't put it back together. So that's good. So back to it. Okay, so I've just checked out the new belt side by side with the old one, and it's a match. It's always a good start. So now we're going to feed it back in. The worst bit is getting it past here, which is the power steering pulley. Wickedly. I thought of being around the front with it being quite tight, but it's not, so yeah. There we go. That's on. Strangely easy. The noise of Mrs. Burton in the Leaf. Sounds like she's in a submarine. So that is the new belt on. That's remarkably easy. I was expecting a lot more of a fight than that. Everything's lined up. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 rib belt. So most of the pulleys are ribbed anyway. Purely the tensioner and the guide that isn't. Which is fair because it's 6 ribbed and everything else is ribbed. As the belt goes round, even if it's slightly out by, you know, a millimetre within a rotation of the belt on its normal axis, it will put it back into line anyway. So that's good. Well, I'm pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting it to be that easy. So now it's just the rebuild. So yeah, excellent. Okay, so that's the engine mount on. Okay, so what I'm going to do at this point, I'm simply going to put the air filter back in, leave the wheel off because that's on a stand, leave the trays off. So plug the mass airflow sensor back in, which is part of the airbox. Once that's done, I'll then start it up, listen for any noises. Hopefully the noise is gone, but I just want to check out that guide, see what we're dealing with. The belt noise is gone, so now it's dropping down on idle. See the belt motion going round? That's good, so there's no noise from the belt. Excellent. Well, we can call that a good thumbs up then, I think. I'll still order a guide anyway. It's just purely because that one's showing signs of age now. It makes sense. Tensioner is bone dry. I did check that off camera. So yeah, that's good. Excellent. So we'll just carry on with the rebuild now then. Done. That's the right result. Not easy as I thought it was going to be. So just turn it off, just make sure we're happy that there isn't any noise on startup. So that's good. So I'm going to get a guide on order anyway, because the one on it with that weepage, it's just, well, it's obviously showing signs that it's getting on a bit now. But yeah, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Right result. So one less thing still in Insignia, which is always a good thing. Yeah, from the install. Come on. So from here, from the Husky House, and from the VXR Collection, thank you for watching. See you again soon.